Brenda, do you want to go ahead and
Yeah.
kick us off? And then if Brad, if they join us at the last minute, we'll make sure that they can do their speaking. But I'll let you start it out and then I'll do a kind of setup intro.
Okay, and just a quick comment, which Mac typically does, is just to have everybody on mute unless you're talking. And then Autumn has also put into the chat that if you do have questions, to please put those into the chat column, and we will answer those and get to those at the end. So I really want to thank everybody for being here. Normally we would have been coming up on a conference in October and everybody would have gotten to be together in person and everybody would have met the candidates there. But since this has been a strange year, we are just going to be able to get together by Zoom. So we have a great slate of candidates and I look forward to hearing what they have to say. And so Autumn is going to moderate this question and answer period tonight. Autumn is the clerk on the board, and with that comes the she's also chair of the governance committee, and with that comes the chair of the nominations committee. So the clerk gets to do a lot. So I'm just going to turn this over to Autumn and let you get started, and hopefully everybody will be able to have enough time to answer all the questions.
Great, thanks, Brenda. Yeah, so the governance committee, we get to have a lot of fun, and we're always looking forward for individuals who would like to help us out. Please let me know if you would like to be that person. So on just a little housekeeping, again, please mute yourself unless you are speaking, and the only people that are going to be speaking are the candidates in turn. So if on the very bottom, you'll see the chat feature. I've already auto-populated some information in the chat box, so you can see that. I've set up the list of who's speaking when, and then we've already emailed them these 4 questions, which are on the right side here in your chat. You can see what they'll be.
Autumn, I'm not seeing it. Are everybody else seeing the chat? The questions in the chat?
No, Autumn, all that's there is what you said about the.
Yeah, I see the questions.
I don't.
Oh, must be something with mine. Sorry.
I'm the same way. I don't see them either.
No, I think that you probably should send them. They won't be there unless they were on the call when the chat went out.
Okay, I'll repopulate it. Let me know if you see it. It'll also help the candidates.
Yep. Got it this
okay,
time.
Did you guys see that? Okay, so again, you can use this chat feature. You can select who you're sending the chat to. Right now, I have it selected to everyone. You can select it to staff, but please post your questions there. The format is we're going to start with each of the candidates, alphabetical order. They've got 10 minutes, and I'm going to be timing you. We only have an hour. Oh, and there's Brad. Excellent. And so they're just going to spend their 10 minutes answering these 4 questions in whatever way and flow they want, and save your questions for them for the end. And we should have about 25 minutes or so to just kind of do some Q&A. So any questions about format? There we go. Okay, cool. I don't want to spend much time talking. So Peter, you're up.
Good afternoon. My name is Peter Dixon. I live in Squamish, BC. I believe I joined the Guild in April 1999, probably at the Western Conference in Whistler, just 45 minutes north of us. And I was just starting my business. My goal was to be up and running for the time of that, for that conference. I was asking Brenda earlier this week when I got on when I was elected to the Timber Framers Business Council board. We seem to think it was 2004, in a memorable meeting in Blissfield, Michigan. And soon after that, I was elected or appointed treasurer. And then I was treasurer right through until the merger with the Guild in 2014, 13, whenever that was. And then have since served on the finance committee, or for the last couple of years, under Steve Lawrence as treasurer of the guild. So my relationship with the guild and before that the business council has always been clearly on the business side, and that's definitely where my strengths lie. I was a very regular attendee of the conferences in the aughts, and then I've Keith Murray, who some of you may know from the conferences, I assume from the last 5 or 6 years, has sort of taken over from the conference side, and I've stepped back. I must confess I miss it. It is a phenomenal community, and I've stayed obviously somewhat attached to the finance committee, but with the purchase of Heartwood in the last year, and I think and as I've started to understand a bit more about the financials of the guild, and perhaps as I went through as the treasurer with the business council through those lean years, through the recession, having a good sound guild is important to me. I don't have a lot to offer from nobody's going to learn how to cut a mortise from me, that's for sure. And for that matter, nobody's going to learn much from me. But I do have a fair bit of experience in controls in a business and that sort of thing, and accounting and say decent business practices. And I hope that I can contribute something on that side more so than perhaps the education side. As far as the motivation to work with the guild, I think it's a wonderful organization. It's I'm part of a couple of different things around here locally, and nothing gets me going like the guild does. It's just a terrific group of people. I haven't, since first being elected in 2004, I've always kept some sort of relationship, and I've never run for the guild board before, and it felt like it was time. I think the education side that we can offer with Heartwood is just an incredible opportunity, and I think there's but making sure we get through this shaky sort of economic period with COVID and that sort of thing, it's important to me that the guild stays strong, both as a community and financially, so that we can be there for generations to come. That's all I've got.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Peter. And let's see, we've got Bo.
Yeah, hi everybody. So from the first questions about the personal, I'm a longtime guild member. I've been involved since the 80s. I'm married with 4 kids. I have this joke where I say I feel like I've been raising kids for 27 years because I have kids aged 14 to 27. I live in West Chesterfield, New Hampshire, which is over by Brattleboro, Vermont. I own and operate Ford Panel in West Chesterfield. And my current position there is I'm very much like a board member there. I don't do the day-to-day, but I oversee the finances and just the business from a higher view. I also own something called The Porch, which is a cafe and catering business in Brattleboro. And we're used to doing about 50 weddings a year, and we're doing exactly none. So that's part of the COVID challenge. My hobbies are hiking and fishing, and I'm gonna go out to the Cape this weekend and end the season out there fishing. One thing a lot of people don't know about me is that I am profoundly deaf, like dead nuts, can't hear a thing without my hearing aids. And I just let people know that, because sometimes I don't understand the question or hear the question, and sometimes people don't think I'm listening. But anyway, I function pretty well with hearing aids and I get by, but I am deaf. So the question of what makes the Guild's mission meaningful to me, the Guild's mission of research, education, and industry to advance timber framing through those things. So industry's always been my thing, working the trade show and tried to help on the companies committee to help other companies support the Guild. My new woke self is having been on this board for a couple years now and really discovering that the Guild is about education. And Heartwood really drives that home. I'm super excited about Heartwood. I look at it in many ways how it'll help the Guild and timber framers in general. But one is just I think it's going to help our labor pool. The more people we get interested in timber framing and educated in timber framing. We've had some initiative on the companies committee to sponsor some people from disadvantaged places to go to the timber framing school. And I think the companies committee will have a lot towards that end. And I can't really speak totally about Hardwood. Matt can get me really excited about it. That was his vision of full disclosure. I was against Hardwood when I first heard about it. I didn't understand it enough. I didn't think it was our place, but I was convinced by my other board members that was the way to go, and I'm happy we went down that road. Number 3 is, what skills, connections, resources, and expertise do you offer on behalf of the organization? Well, I think I'm pretty good at navigating austerity. I've been in business for 35 years, and that's our biggest challenge right now in the Guild. We have a really tough budget that we gave MAC, and we're loosening that up a little bit as we go forward. But I think I work pretty effectively with my back against the wall. Moving forward, I have a lot of board experience outside the Guild, and I participated in capital campaigns, and that's going to be a big initiative going forward as we try to find a home for Heartwood and make Heartwood more viable and bigger. I congratulate what Mac and Allison did to pull off their season at Heartwood. It was just amazing what those guys did, and hopefully next year under better conditions it'll really thrive. And what motivates me to work service of the Guild? Well, I have a drive to learn, and that's how I learn. I learn by doing, and I really enjoy my relationship with my fellow board members. There's a lot of people I've known for years that I just in passing, Sandy Bennett and Brenda, and I know these guys, but I didn't really know them, and getting to work with them and seeing how they operate, and the team of the board. I really love every member on this board, and everybody does a good job. I will show up, and I think that's about it.
Great, thank you, Bo. All righty. See, Christian, your turn.
Howdy, folks. My name is Christian Gudmund. For those who don't know me, I have been in the timber framing industry for going on 6 years now, which is still weird to say. I transitioned into it from a background in engineering and haven't looked back since. Absolutely love everything about it so far. I kind of got into it to enjoy the craft of creating timber frames. And I would say a bit too soon, I got thrust into the business end of it, which ended up being just as rewarding for me. So that was a lucky benefit. I'm 31. I like working, and I need some more hobbies after that. What makes the Guild's mission meaningful to me? I would say it's just all about timber framing. I don't know anything else when it comes to construction. Building with 2x4 seems real dumb. And the fact that there's a group of people who technically are competitors, but no one acts that way is just so inspiring to not push my business forward, but just to push timber framing forward. And if I do the project, or if Brad does a project, who cares? Let's get it done, and let's have more timber frames everywhere for everyone, because it's awesome. And to have this overarching community pushing towards that is just really, really cool to me. So I just like to be able to be helpful however I can. What skills, connections, resources, all that. I would say I'm surely the least qualified candidate right now. I would say my biggest skill is not letting, not knowing how to do something stop me from trying, for better or worse. I have a background in engineering, and that could be helpful in a sense. But really, it comes from just being willing to give something a shot, and if I don't know how to do something, find someone smarter than me to tell me how to do it and make it happen in that regard. I'm young, so I'm still woefully energetic, and I want to use that for the right reasons right now, as long as I have it. And what motivates me to work in service to the Guild at this time, I keep looking at that question, and it kind of bothers me because I don't like the "at this time" part of it. I'm motivated to work at the Guild now and probably until I die. So let's not touch on it this time. Let's just say, be on the board, not be on the board. I'm going to work to help the Guild in whatever fashion I can. And if being on the board makes me more effective, then I'm all for it. I just want to help get stuff done. Not much of a talker or whatnot. I just want to work and make things better, whichever way I can. That's what I got.
Great, thank you, Christian. Feel free to you can edit these questions. Just answer the parts of them that you like. Okay, so David, are you ready?
Yes, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Well, as usual, I'm probably over prepared, and I don't like to talk about myself, so this is going to be a high intensity session on David Ordicant, things you've never heard before and probably never wanted to know. I've been a member of the Guild since the late 1990s, over 20 years now. I grew up in a construction family and worked during the summers on construction projects during high school and paid my way through college doing construction. I've always been passionate about heavy timber engineering since I took my first timber frame engineering course in college. I've been in private practice off and on since 1976. I didn't find my niche in timber engineering until 1998, shortly after I moved to Highlands, North Carolina, and did my first true timber frame project for Harmony Timber Works. I will be forever grateful for that opportunity to find my life's true calling and vocation. Our relationship continues to this day. Back then, when I encountered my first mortise and tenon connection, I remember talking to Dick Schmidt and asking him, "So Dick, tell me, how do these peg connections work and how do you analyze them?" And I'll never forget his answer. It was very straightforward and simple. And there have been a lot of sophisticated studies and tests done since then. And his advice has always held true and reliable. I have been focused almost exclusively on heavy timber engineering and related structural design for the past 15 years. I have a bachelor's degree of civil engineering from the University of Florida and a Master of Science in Engineering Management from the University of South Florida. An MSEM degree is like an MBA for technically oriented companies. I recommend it highly if any of you are inclined toward management or business ownership. I'm one of the early members of the TFEC and serves as the third chairman following Jim DeStefano and Tom Neal. I'm married, and my wife Ann and I live in the extreme western end of North Carolina in the small town of Hayesville on Lake Chattooga that straddles the North Carolina-Georgia border. Between us, we have 4 children and 6 grandchildren scattered from Oregon to the east coast of North Carolina and down into Florida. We don't see each other too often. I've enjoyed a wide range of hobbies and interests: folk guitar, fishing, hunting, amateur radio. I've been a ham operator since I was 14. Astronomy and designing and building telescopes. I still have 2 that are wonderful. Building and piloting 2 aircraft. That was an experience and a half. Designing and building small sailboats. Just finished the second of 2 large model gliders. I'm now building a large model sailboat. It's easier on the back than doing heavy work these days. I've always enjoyed traveling, and I had more than a passing interest in family genealogy. However, designing timber frame systems is my favorite hobby. I absolutely love my work and God's vocational calling on my life. And a little known fact, I get my mind going by listening to high-speed Morse code every morning while I'm getting dressed. I bet you didn't know that. What makes the Guild meaningful? I've observed that the draw to timber framing is more of a passion and a calling than just another way to earn a living. And it is the Guild that provides avenues to fuel that passion. I especially appreciate how much we care about the craft and how it shows up in the structures we design and build in terms of craft skill and aesthetic beauty. This shows up at an uncommonly high level compared to the rest of the construction industry. My skills, connections, resources, and expertise are all foundationally supported by my experience, I think. I've been a consulting engineering business owner of 1 large and 2 small firms. I've been the company operations and management officer for a commercial contracting company. I was director of pre-construction services for a large design build construction company. Coordinating the design team for the client was one of the most enjoyable jobs I've ever had. I was a sales engineer for 2 pre-stressed concrete companies and served as the director of engineering for the Holiday Inn system and served as director of engineering construction for the Hampton Inn hotel system, where I was responsible for overseeing the design and construction of the first 100 or so Hampton Inns. After leaving the industry, my own firm was responsible for the structural design of over 70 limited service hotels throughout the Southeast US. I served as an adjunct college professor in the School of Architecture at Florida A&M University for 2 years in their structural design program and their courses, while I was starting my first engineering consulting firm. I served as an industry advisory council member to the Schools of Business and Construction at Western Carolina University. And I also served as a part-time instructor in their College of Engineering. 2 years ago, I founded a not-for-profit 501c3 Youth Aviation Foundation that supports, encourages, guides, and facilitates high school aviation programs and funds flight training scholarships here in Western North Carolina. I'm a registered professional engineer throughout the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic states. I have a wide range of knowledge of the skills and abilities of many timber frame contractors, designers, engineers, architects. I currently serve on the Publications Committee of the Technical Activities Committee of the Timber Frame Engineering Council. I've made numerous presentations at regional and Eastern conferences. And above all, kind of in summary of all of this experience, what I really see myself is as a bridge builder in the sense of relationships, that is, bringing people and ideas together. My current motivation to the Guild is based on giving back time and experience to help others enjoy the pursuit of their passions and career, wanting to leave the industry just a bit better than I found it, and having a generous amount of time to devote to you and the board activities now that I'm semi-retired and only working mornings each day. Being on the board to me is all about serving you, the members, and to keep asking myself the following questions. What can I do to make your investment worthwhile, enriching, educational, and fulfilling? How can I help you bring your dreams to reality? How can I be a resource for the resources you need? My board focus will be on membership growth and retention by providing increased value for participation, making conferences more accessible and affordable, and bringing a wide range of meaningful content to the Guild website and publications. If you want to learn more, please check out my website at dramey.com. That's dreamy without the A. Please call me anytime. I'm almost always available after 2 o'clock Eastern time. Thank you for giving me this time to share with you. I look forward to answering any questions you have, either now or in the future. Thank you, Autumn.
Thanks, David. You guys are acing through your time. This is good. More time for questions and chatting at the end. Chris Kane, you're up. Can't hear you. You're on mute.
on my phone.
There we
There,
go.
how's that?
Yeah, good.
Okay. Is it coming through the computer or the phone? Can you hear me now? Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to hold
That's
my
probably
phone up
better.
anyway because, all right. Okay, so basic info. I'm Chris Kane. I live on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, having been here for 13 years now after a 3-year journey around North America where I met a number of you folks. Having been a guild member for 30 years now, at 13 years ago, we decided to sell our house in Wisconsin and hit the road for a few years and do a kind of a quasi journey, and learned a lot, met a lot of people, worked on some really interesting projects and had a great time, all within the timber framing world. So yeah, 30 years in timber framing, 30 years plus in the guild, lifetime member. Have throughout my time in the guild in the 90s and the aughts, been involved in a number of projects and conferences as a presenter primarily. My involvement in the timber framing world is very varied, from design to sales, installation of timber frames, general contracting, and of course a lot of time in the shop. Right now, here on Vancouver Island, I've built a partnership with a journeyman carpenter and am doing soup to nuts design, fabrication, installation of lots of different things, primarily working with heavy timber, but not exclusively, and really enjoying it. It's very fulfilling for me, although it makes me pretty sore in the mornings as I get older. I'm finding that my consumption of Motrin is going up, and but that's okay because my stock in Motrin is going up too. We have 2 kids. My wife Ruth and I have 2 sons who are now adults. My youngest one just turned 19, Rainer. Older one is Ansel. He's 23. Some of you guys that have been around at the conferences for lots of years probably remember them from some of the guild children's workshops. I know Brenda probably does. And anyway, the younger one has decided that he's going to pursue a career in electric, become an electrician. I don't know what I did wrong, but there it is. The older one is a professional sailboat racer who is temporarily stranded on the ground because of COVID. There's no racing happening right now. He's an ocean racer and stuck here on the island and working for me mostly, much to his chagrin. So yeah, so my kids are launched more or less, touch wood, and I feel like the time is right for me to make a bigger commitment to the organization that I've loved dearly for over 30 years. I feel like I bring a fairly broad range of skills from being involved in other boards of directors over the last dozen or so years here, including work as a president and secretary and other duties that I won't waste your time with now, but broad board experience and training in board of director work. The local Chamber of Commerce put on a 2-day seminar that I attended a couple of times called Boot Camp for Board Members. Learned a tremendous amount from them. And one of the takeaways from one of the presenters there that I really like to refer back to is that specifically for not-for-profits. And he said, not-for-profit is a tax status and not a business plan. I thought that was sound advice. From the meaningful side of things, I've always said, when anybody asks me about the Timber Framers Guild, I've always answered them by saying that the likelihood is high that I would not be in construction at all, let alone in timber framing, if it wasn't for the Guild. It's just such a magical group of people. I think my first conference was the Habitat for Humanity build in Pennsylvania, and I was just hooked. It's like a fish with a hook in the mouth. That's it. I'm done. Sign me up. The selflessness, selfless giving, and sharing of knowledge that happens is just phenomenal and unique, I find, and it's what keeps bringing me back, as well as the camaraderie. I've seen nothing like it in any other professional organization anywhere in my life, within or without the working world. The education side of it is very dear to me. Over the years, I've been involved in lots of projects as an instructor, a participant, and project manager. I've taken away tremendous amount of skill, way more than I've given, I'm afraid, to the Guild through those opportunities. And now, with Heartwood coming on, I'm just really, my mind is bursting with the ideas of what we can do to dovetail the educational experiences to our membership. And I had the great good fortune of going to Germany with the Guild in 2004, I think, January, and spent a month working there, and that was absolutely pivotal for my experience as a carpenter. And just getting to understand what timber framing is all about on a much broader scale, not only from the other participants in that group, but also learning more deeply about what's happening in other parts of the world. So again, briefly, the skills, the board of directors experience and training. We've pretty deeply steeped in creative fundraising, and think there's some transferable skills that I can bring to the Guild there. My multifaceted timber framing experience, I've worn so many hats through my time in this industry. I think I bring a fairly unique perspective in that regard. I've worked with big companies, I've been a small company, and pretty much done everything in between, within and without timber framing and general construction. For me, the timing of why this is happening now, the kids are theoretically flown the coop, and so I find myself with being able to switch my focus a little bit and offer the Guild something that I've been really wanting to offer for a long time. I felt like I've wanted to be a part of the board for many years, and just now the time is right. I think it's a pivotal time in the board, and bringing my 30 years of membership to bear and watching the board and the Guild develop over those 30 years. To me, it's a very important time to provide whatever I can to the Guild in that regard. And I don't know exactly what that's going to be yet, but embracing the 21st century with whatever skills I can bring from those listed above and any others that you can dream up, I'm happy to do that. So there.
Great. Thank you so much, Chris.
Yep.
All right, we have Brad.
Hi there. Does this work for everybody? You can hear me all right? Excellent. I'm Brad Morris. I live in Western Massachusetts in the Berkshire Hills. Oddly enough, about 5 minutes from the Heartwood School, which is partly why I'm here. I have a fairly small company that does custom home building primarily, called Uncarved Block. And we GC the entire project. And we do pretty much everything with timbers and a lot with wood off of people's property directly. I think I got involved in the Guild just about 2000. And in 2001, I remember I went to the conference at Asilomar in Monterey with a whole bunch of Japanese temple builders, and I was pretty much hooked right then. And part of a little later on, I was thinking of just how many of you people I know, and I remember I roomed with Chris, at the next Asilomar conference, and I'm on committees with Bo and Christian and Kat, who maybe just left. And, I've worked with Adam and all kinds of good people. So I'm a big, I think others have mentioned this, but the Guild is just special in that way, that weird term that Joel McCarty used to use, exuberant camaraderie, I think is what it was, the XC factor. I was a Heartwood apprentice in 2004, and that's how I moved out here. And then I stuck around buying a fixer-upper and started my company. I continued to teach at Heartwood, and so I'm really excited to be part of the transition, and I'm excited to have everyone else kind of interested in it too. And I helped teach a little bit this year. It was a little different, but it worked, and I'm sure it will work better, even better in the future. I used to go to a fair number of Timber Framers Guild projects, and I just loved them and meeting people. And I think that work hard, play hard mentality is really a big part of it. And then I had 2 kids who are 5 and 7, and my poor wife is putting them to sleep right now, or trying to. And so I don't get out as much, but I try. I'm actually looking forward to dragging them to some projects. Actually, I see Ben just joined. I have this dream of maybe going on like a boys road trip, and the first stop is at Ben's boat to see if the boys will sleep in a boat in the boathouse. And I got recruited into the guild's company committee with, again, I'm on with Bo and Christian and Kat, who are all on this call, and a whole bunch of other great people. That's been really fun, and we've kind of started some new things. And also I was, along with other people like Will Denton and Will Beamer and others, was part of the apprenticeship program. I was grandfathered in as a journeyman. So I'm really excited to bring that part back too. So I think as far as mission goes, education is certainly, I'm just a huge fan of it. Again, I teach at Heartwood. I was a journeyman in the apprenticeship program. I'm excited to get that going again, and I'd like to help out with that. Even within our company, I send all my employees to 2 Heartwood classes, and just actually tomorrow I have a employee review, and he's expressed some interest in learning some other things. So we'll do that. I think it keeps everybody engaged. And as you guys know, there's nowhere else to learn a lot of this stuff. And I'm not talking just the timber frame stuff. I'm talking, maybe we branched out a little too far, but it's traditional stair building and compound joinery, and things that I've eyebrow dormers, the German style, and things like that. Things that I've actually incorporated into my work. And then as far as the guild's vision, which is community building through craft, again, I'm just a big fan of community. Last night I was up till midnight hanging out with the local farm guy who needs a barn, and he's applying for a grant, and I've been doing that pro bono just because they're great people, and they're a great part of the community, and they're feeding people and all kinds of good stuff. As part of the guild's company committee, I think we've been fairly active under Jonathan Orpin's leadership and Bo's leadership now, and with things like September and the new peer-to-peer networks, which Christian started up, and we've all been plugging away at, and I think that's been a big help. That there's always been this odd division sometimes of craft versus business, like it has to be distinct and separate, or that you have to suffer for decades and not make any money. And I did that too for a while, and I decided it really wasn't very fun. So it's great to be sharing, just like we share technical resources and timber framing with all of each other, to share business resources as well. It's been really good. So now there's 3 groups with potential, maybe 4, with potential for more. We started some of the annual business trainings with branding and with Zing Train and so on. So we'll be continuing that kind of stuff. And as far as working with the guild, motivations, I think in short, I'm just, I was kind of thinking, and maybe just like the folks I was meeting with last night, I feel like I know a good thing when I see it, and the guild is it, just like we all know, it's a good group of people, and and we're doing good things in the world. So I'd like to be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Just a quick thing. You can see in the chat some of the questions are populating. So this also gives the candidates some time to browse. There's a lot here that are pointed at specific people. So we'll get to those at the end, but please put those in there for all to see. And last but not least, Bill, thanks for hanging in there.
All right, Bill Sturm from sunny, well, actually super smoky Bend, Oregon, Central Oregon, right in the center of the state. Hopefully you can hear me all right. I'm outside because the shop is too full of smoke at this point to be in there. So it's a little windy. Occasionally I'm going to be closing my eyes because the wind's blowing all the sawdust that I didn't sweep up earlier right in my face. A little bit about myself. I started my career timber framing in the Southeast. I'm from Georgia originally. Went to Georgia Tech, studied architecture, lasted almost a whole year sitting behind a desk before I realized I had to get out and do something a little bit more with my hands. So moved out to Bend, Oregon for recreation and lifestyle, and found my way into timber framing through Stephen Morrison. Got an opportunity to build the first one with him in South Carolina. Both of us read a book. Just made sense to me. We learned a lot. I look back fondly on those days of cutting a mortise 4 inches exactly to receive a 4-inch tenon. But since then, I've worked for a small company in Sisters, Oregon, Earthwood Homes. I totally, what a great experience that was. I don't think I appreciated Chris Calvin nearly as much as I should have until I went into business for myself. He took me to my first timber frame conference in Salishan. I want to say it was 98, somewhere in there. I immediately came home super stoked and spent the next 2 months rent money on becoming a lifetime guild member. That was definitely, didn't seem like the best decision at the time, but it definitely was a good decision for me. Since then, I don't think I've missed many Western conferences. I don't think I've yet to make an Eastern conference. That'll hopefully happen sooner than later. See, I'm a single dad of 3 kids out here. One of my kids was trying to distract me earlier by showing me his brand new kickflip. I sent him on his way. I guess to me, what makes the guild super meaningful to me is the people. I have just never met such wonderful people in all of my life. I mean, anytime I've been a part of, yes, I would consider myself into custom building. I don't do a lot of cookie cutter stuff, but even that beyond that, you just meet the most interesting people. And I think if you just assume people are carpenters we're so much more than that. All these people have so much more and have just found their way into this craft. And to me, the guild I've learned so much more than I've ever brought to it. I spent the last couple of years reinvesting myself into projects. I've really enjoyed projects. I enjoy the education component of the guild, and definitely always learn more than I teach. I feel like I should have probably turned around and paid them. Don't take that to heart, Mac. But I just am always amazed at how much I end up learning on these projects, especially when I've been there to instruct and teach. But that is something to me that is dear to my heart is the teaching component. And I think by teaching timber framing, I think that we end up promoting. By putting these projects out there, we create more public projects. I'm still amazed. I think one of the first projects I participated in was in Salem, Oregon. And for those of you who don't know, it's a giant 42-foot square timber frame right downtown Salem. And to this day, most people I think that live in Salem don't even know it's there. I'll always point it out and tell them, oh, it's near the carousel. They'll know the carousel, but they don't know the giant timber frame pavilion. But that being said, I just think more of the stuff being out there helps us promote timber framing, which in turn creates more opportunity for all of our businesses. And I think that number one is, I mean, to me, that's super important to keeping a guild going. I mean, without the work, we can't have the guild. So I guess for me, I'd just definitely see more of that. I definitely enjoyed always participating in the children's workshops, especially. That is something I would like to see us get back to. I think teaching the younger people about these opportunities and just in general in timber framing. And it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be timber framers, but I think it gets people interested in building and working with their hands and thinking outside the box. I mean, I've seen so many people learn things that they didn't know, they couldn't get in other aspects of their life, especially math, by starting to mess with wood and then just become masters at math, far beyond what I think I could do with math. But so skills I have, well, I've touched on it. I spent a fair amount of time teaching. I run my own small timber frame company. It's ebbed and flowed. It's been a medium-sized company. It's definitely a smaller size company. Scaled back the size. Well, initially it was scaled back with the economy, and I've just kept it that way to spend a little bit more time concentrating on family. I have 3 kids that are 16, 13, and 11. They're not going to be around that much longer, so that became more important to me in my life presently. And I think as I see them getting older, I need to fill that time with other things. And teaching's been a great one to do it. I teach here locally in Oregon at a couple different places, and then definitely always enjoy working on a guild project and working here in Bend or the greater Oregon or Pacific Northwest area. I'm super enthusiastic. I love to learn. I've got a lot of good life experiences that I feel like I could bring to the guild. Yeah, I'm feeling a little smoked out right now. I honestly just hope to enrich the guild as much as I feel that it's enriched me, and to bring the things that I've learned and hopefully will continue to learn forward. That's what I've got.
Awesome. Thank you, Bill. Put some goggles on and a respirator. That's how it's like in my shop right now too. Okay, well, thank you all of you for sharing all this. We do have a nice list of some meaty questions in the chat, and it looks like some of you guys have already been answering them in the chat. So I think what I'm gonna do is, since we've got only 10 minutes, I'll start at the top of the questions. Andrea had posed one to Peter, which he then answered below. So I'm gonna skip down to Bo. Bo's got a question here. Thoughts about the capital campaign or your goals for this? You wanna speak to that?
Sure, Andrea. So the capital campaign usually starts out with friend raising before we do the fundraising, and that's going to be critical. We only have so much money inside our organization, and we hit those people all the time, and we're going to hit them again too. But we'll start out with a friend raising process and go from there. That sort of my goals for this capital campaign are to hopefully fund a permanent home for Heartwood, and also just to expand our operating budget, just to have a cushion. That we have some cushion and not just the day-to-day thing that we've been living forever. So both those goals, I'm willing to not only friend raise, but also chase the legacy and leadership gifts that we're going to need to get this thing going. So Brenda, you can tell Frank I'll be calling him, and Anyway, that's just the way I look at that. We're going. We also, for people that don't know, we have a consultant, Sheila, who we've already interviewed, and we haven't totally signed up with her, but we'll probably be heading down that road. Mostly Mac's itching to go, but we're just trying to maintain what we have, and I'm not sure of the timing of that. I do see Steve Morrison here while he's here. Hey, Steve, I want to thank you for all you've been doing for the Guild since you left the board. You've been a tremendous help, and I don't know where we would be in the last few months without you. So I just wanted to acknowledge you publicly about that.
Andrea, do you feel like your question was answered well enough? Okay, great. I'm going to pop down to Christian. Here's one from Andrea also. I love the energy you bring to the TFG and especially the companies committee. Can you speak to some of the initiatives the committee is exploring for the near future, more peer-to-peer or something else?
Absolutely. First off, thanks, Andrea, for asking so many questions. You're the best. So the company committee has been, I would say, crushing it entirely. And it's been just awesome to be a part of that. You know, what started with a lot of kind of business summits to help get people, you know, skills that are just hard to get otherwise was really helpful. We stopped doing that actually right before the pandemic, which seemed to work really well. But probably need to take a look at that again to see what kind of Zoom-based or virtual-based options there are just to help these business owners learn how to be business owners when they started there just because they wanted to be craftsmen. One of those things was the peer-to-peer networking that we started, you know, and we have a bunch of folks here that are part of that. I think the majority of my group is here. So that's pretty rad. Bo, Steve, Bill, Kat. And that has just been such an amazing opportunity to network. And so much of what this guild's about is having all this knowledge, you know, this collaborative thousands of years of knowledge in this group. And with such a collaborative, you know, industry, being able to help the different timber framers figure different things out. I mean, I'm a young guy doing this and will admit that I have no idea what I'm doing. And to be able to ask all these knowledgeable people, you know, Bo, Steve, Kat, Bill, like, it's just amazing to have a question and just be able to get the answer to that. So I'm really passionate about helping make those connections and using this common knowledge to get everyone on the same page. And also looking forward to kind of what other ways we can do that just in different methods. You know, the peer-to-peer is working, but that's not going to work for everybody. So what other methods are there to help bring knowledge to the masses and promote timber framing? That was a rant. I don't know if I answered anything you're asking, Andrea. Awesome. Onwards.
I just realized, yeah, most of these questions are from you, Andrea. So maybe instead of me reading them, do you want to just ask them?
Well, I really, I was trying to respond to what I heard from the candidates. I mean, every single person that spoke had 20 different interesting things they said about themselves or their ideas, but pulling out something that, you know, was a little bit of a differentiation from, or a little something I hadn't heard from other people. So that's why I asked the specific questions, but I would say, you know, if there's something else you want to speak to further, that's fine too. But David, I did hear you say about increasing membership and engagement. I'd love to hear a little bit more on, you know, boy, we've struggled with that over the years.
Thank you, Andrea. This is not to say that you all may or may not have been doing what I'm about to suggest, but my thinking is that what we do is all about serving people. And so my concern has to do more with what is going on in the minds of the people that don't renew their dues. Why don't they come back? Why don't they participate? What is it about the Guild and what it provides that fell short of the mark for them. And I have an idea that I would like to bring to the board. I had an interesting conversation with Allison yesterday. And I asked her, I said, how hard would it be to bring a list of all those people whose dues were in arrears 60 or 90 days to each board meeting, and then take that list and divide it up among the 12 of us and have each of us make a call. And it turns out that the number of people on average, she said, quote unquote, and I hope I'm not taking anything out of context, Mac, was probably about 50. So if you take 50 and you divide it by 12, call it four people per board member, that's one a week that we could be calling and having an in-depth conversation and really plumbing the depths of their experience within the guild and finding out what they felt we could do to enhance their experience in the guild and would be more likely to retain them as a member. And also to have the opportunity to maybe recap some of the membership benefits that maybe they haven't been able to enjoy for a variety of reasons, or maybe didn't even know about. So I see it as a tremendous sales opportunity. I remember looking at the history, and I went through almost all of the documents in the, what do you call that thing, Autumn? The big deal with all the stuff in it that you have. It's, you know what?
Big deal with all the stuff in it.
Yeah,
The
all the
governance
documents.
manual, I believe.
The governance manual. And in reviewing the history, back in 2008, we had 1,800 members, and now it looks like about 1,300. Where did those 500 people go? And how many people have left and come and gone in the meantime? And so I just think there's a tremendous opportunity. And a wise person once told me, if you're having trouble with enough money to operate on, don't try to cut your budget and worry about that too much. Think about increasing your revenue. And to me, getting more members on the board and providing more content for them that's meaningful is the key to success.
Well, thank you. I think you're probably the only one who plumbed the depths of that file in Basecamp, our governance manual, which is massive. So, yeah. You can join the GovCom and help work on that. It would be great. Just saying. I just want to check in real quick. We are almost at 5 Pacific. Are people good to hang in for another 10 minutes or so? Give me a thumbs up or a wave or a something. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure that we get through these really great questions that are here.
Well, Chris had kind of answered in chat a few different things about workshops and conferences, but I don't know if you want to say something else, or that's pretty much your thoughts there, Chris.
You're on mute.
Still on mute.
Still muted. Yeah, the joys of working our technology.
He was using his phone earlier, maybe.
There you go.
How's that?
Yes.
Aha! I'm a, what did I say the other night? I'm a Zoombie, Zoom newbie. Still figuring this stuff out. Yeah, conferences, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine how to improve on the format, except to say that, you know, as technology evolves, I wonder if there's opportunities for us to be more inclusive for folks that just simply can't afford or to get there or to take the time to come to a conference in North America and really broaden our reach across the world and use technology to that end. And to me, it's a pretty exciting possibility to, you know, even from a teaching aspect. And again, hearkening back to my time in Germany, I mean, obviously the experience there in person was fantastic and irreplaceable, but I reckon you could get 75%, maybe 60%, I don't know, somewhere in there of the value of that remotely now, given what we can do, and maybe apply that to conferences and learning experiences. In terms of projects in Heartwood, is just, you know, the world's our oyster. I would suggest that as a West Coaster and living in Canada, that perhaps we should be mindful of how to be inclusive of folks on the other side of the country and in a different country. That's all.
Great, thank you. I do want to go back to Peter. We kind of skipped you at the top. You had a lot of nice things to say here from Andrea's question, just kind of the challenges, the membership, some of your ideas on that. Peter, do you want to just kind of sum this up a little bit and have a chance to talk about this a little more?
Yeah, I think just being on the financial committee the last couple of years, it's just become very clear how significant projects have to not only the financial success, but also I think you get just a great energy from them, and I think it's a terrific way to add on to David's comments about getting members. It's just it's sort of free advertising, if you will, and I think it's a great way to get young people engaged in the and sort of the new blood coming up into the guild. It's obviously a difficult time to do it right now, and it's very interesting when you were saying, Chris, about us Canadians up here, and it's going to be a little tricky if any of us Canadians get elected to come down to a face-to-face meeting, since we'd have to quarantine for 2 weeks when we come home. So the guild should not do any projects up here in Canada, by the way. That would be a financial mistake. At least if we want any of Americans come over here. No, it was very, at one point we looked at this 10-year history, or I did anyway. And it was a couple of years where, Brenda, you were offering your services as ED for a very cheap number, if I recall. And then we had a couple of really good project years. And other than those years, the guild doesn't make it. And we went through this with the business council for years. David, you probably recall, I think you were on the board with me. And I used to call it, the business council became, certainly through the recession, I called it a caretaker organization. We didn't have the money to do anything. We wanted to put on conferences. We wanted to do stuff. And and Jack, you were there too, just looking around, and Sandy, for you were as well as Brenda. We just couldn't do anything because we didn't have the money. And when I look at the guild's success of the last couple of years, it is saying that the projects are really critical. And I think Steve, as treasurer, has done a great job putting together the sort of financial framework to make sure that they are successful and they are contributing to the bottom line. And I think we can find that there's a trend that if we have good project years, they tend to be good years. So there's my thoughts on projects. or on the, so let me say on the financial, I think it's the easiest way for the guild to be financially secure. I think it's very hard. If at $100 a year membership, it's a lot of work to increase the revenue that way. I think it's easier to go down the project route and the conference route and get them organically that way. That's my thoughts on the financial success of the guild. And by the way, sorry to finish that off. I'm optimistic. I don't think I answered that part of your question, Andrea.
Thank you. Let's see. You've got one for Brad, again from Andrea. She's also this engaged in the board. It's really wonderful. And anyway, Andrea, and as I think other board members here, would love to hear your thoughts on resurrecting the ATP and the Heartwood connection.
Yeah, I mean, before that, I just want to say too that I think Peter's point of view was really key. That it tied in with what I was saying earlier on just the general business side of things. That there's kind of no point in busting our asses to make this all work if we go bankrupt, kind of thing. So obviously, you know, having the financial backing to survive is more important than almost anything, really, unfortunately. But I think I'll punt a little bit just in Andrea's note there too. Just, you know, I mean, we've had whole conversations on TFGLive just about the ATP, other than to say that I'm not really tied to any one model at all. I know there's a couple different sides to it and options, and I know there's a poll that went out, and I participated in that poll, and I'm open to all kinds of things, or some kind of hybrid model, and then again, I mean, I think Heartwood is just going to be a great opportunity. I think, you know, like Chris was saying, to have traveling Heartwood, to sort of maybe have Heartwood be sort of like a brand as part of projects, you know, potentially pre-con things that, you know, there's so many opportunities, and I think it's going to be great for the Guild. I know it's been a long-term vision of the Timber Framers Guild to have an educational facility, I guess you could say. So I'm jazzed, and I love teaching too. So
Great, thank you, Brad. We've got this one for Bill. You have so many good ideas. Any thought as to where you want to jump in on the board first? Like what committees or initiatives you'd want to be involved with?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think that I definitely would like to be involved in the education component. I think one of the things that initially, after doing a first workshop, is I tried to get something involved, get a workshop going in my own local community, and it was difficult. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I had just moved back to Bend from Portland, so I was dealing with that, and I just, you know, part of it was me, and I wasn't getting all the support, or I don't think the information was so easily readily available to give to me, like trying to explain to my community like what the cost was going to be to get the Guild involved. There just was no hard information. And so without being able to give that hard information, like, you know, when you're sitting with a client, you got to give that hard information, otherwise it's going to go away. I just, you know, I lost credibility, and I just didn't present it well enough. I think that's one of the things I think I'd like to see the Guild be able to move towards is we have all these great people scattered all over, you know, United States, Canada, I mean, beyond that. And if we had, if you will, just borrow a phrase from, you know, 8 years ago, whatever, 12 years ago, like a shovel-ready type of project. I mean, if we had a few of those, I feel like, you know, local members could roll into a school or into, you know, into their communities, and we could have a few ideas, and it just may be the spark that starts a bigger fire. But if we had a few things that we could point to, like for instance, we redid that children's workshop numerous times, and the one time that we had a workshop or had a conference in Bend, or we had it down at Sun River, we took the children's workshop and we donated, I believe, to the Ronald McDonald House in Bend. And myself and a few other local timber framers went and put it up there. And that's something that you could still always point to. And the Ronald McDonald House itself in Bend was a timber frame workshop in the early 90s. But I think that would be something that I would be really like to put some energy towards, just so that we can empower all of us to get timber framing more into our local communities. And I think then that furthers, you know, timber framing in general, and it furthers the interest. So that's something that I would definitely like to. And I think Heartwood, having Heartwood now, that would be a huge component. That's a win for us to have that now. So definitely being involved in Heartwood and education, and then beyond that, there's lots of things I would like to learn that I'm not great at. But I think being in this, the one thing I did talk about earlier that Christian touched upon and that Bo's a part of is the business group that we're a part of, and it's a very valuable thing, and I think more of that for Guild members would be great too. And then I touched on earlier, David Hortican brought up about how do we get back Guild members that we that are no longer guild members. I mean, it can't all just be about cost. Sometimes I lapse on things because it's just out of sight, out of mind. I didn't pay it, and then it gets further and further, and then maybe we do need that gentle reminder. And I think especially people who've been gone for a long time, like now that we embrace all this technology and we have these chats going on once a week, I think there's a lot of value there that we just didn't have this earlier. And there's just things that you can see, and maybe getting that stuff back in front of some of these people that were once guild members and probably would be again, would get them back. So I just think this conversation in general just brought a lot of good ideas forward. I'm not sure I answered any of the questions.
Thank you. Thanks for speaking freely. And I'd like to just open it up to anyone else here who have questions for the candidates. Free form, ready, go.
Yeah, I'd like to make, I have a question for a few of the candidates here, but I'd just like to make an observation first too. And I think every presentation here tonight was awesome. You guys did a great job. And this is going to be difficult, or maybe it'll be easy. We can just throw a dart at the board and we can't make a bad choice, I'm betting. Which I think is just testament to what an awesome nominating committee we are. So congratulations to us. But in the meantime, for David and Brad and Bill, I haven't been able to reach you guys. So this is more of a topical question, I guess, but we're having before the end of the year, we will have an online auction, and we're forming an ad hoc auction committee. And I'd like to ask the three of you to be a part of that committee. Not looking for an answer right now, although I would take it. And the reason it's only you three, because all the rest have already agreed to be a part of that. So that's out there. Let me know within the next 24 hours, please.
Count me in, Sandy.
All right, there's one.
I'm in, Sandy.
That's two.
Well, like Andrea said, I'm in.
I don't know though with the virtual online auction how the spotters work, like how they go like, hey, oh.
We'll teach you.
Yeah, that pressure. Remember Joel would just stand over you, get your bid going. Like we just don't have that pressure on the online thing. We have to find a way. Anyone else?
Don't challenge Sandy Autumn that way. Don't challenge him.
Okay, sorry about that. Just thank you all for coming today, and just it was great to see all of you and just hear from all our amazing candidates. If
this was really great. In a lot of ways, I think we had, as some Zoom calls have allowed, a more one-on-one. I hope more people, we're going to have, we'll see what we'll do in 2 weeks, but this was a great opportunity to have everybody together and somewhat focused. So it was, I think it worked out really nicely, and I agree. It was a wonderful way for everybody to express their ideas and your commitment to the Guild, and it's been a really great thing to hear tonight. So thank you all.
And also the just a little technicality, the candidate statements, which are due. There's a couple of you that I need them from. Those will also get posted on our website with your photo, also in the Guild notes and also in Scantlings. So for the people who didn't join us tonight, your written word will go forth to the membership.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have to say that.
All right, well, that's all we have for you this evening.
Autumn, are we following up with a members meeting next week or in 2 weeks?
2 weeks on the 30th. So since all the candidates made it tonight, thank you. We don't have overflow time for the members meeting. So we won't need to, we'll we'll focus the members meeting at the members meeting, and the candidate stuff will just be through our normal online posting format. So members meeting on the 30th, same channel.
And we should have the entire board there that night too. So have your questions ready.
These kinds of things are really.
Thank you for hosting, Autumn. Great job.
Thanks. Thanks,
Thanks,
Autumn.
everyone. All right.